grade out markers now one by one in the CD8 positive T cell population, because these are the cytotoxic T cells that I was interested in focusing in on for my functional assay in the clinical cohort. And so I'm going to go ahead and just change this to ERK. In this case, I know that I want to actually reduce a little bit of the space here. So I'm going to go ERK, perforin, and interferon gamma. Those are my three functional markers. I'm going to reduce the spread, give myself some more space. And then I'm just going to draw a gate. Right now, I'm just drawing it by eye. You can also use fluorescence -1 FMO controls as a gating tool. But I'll call this ERK positive, and in this case it's a no-stim sample, so there's not a lot of signaling going between cells. I'm going to change this next one to interferon gamma. Again, this is a no-stim, so there's not a lot of interferon gamma production. I can just call this IFMG positive. And if I make a mistake here, I can rename. And then change my last one is going to be perforin, which is more of a phenotypic marker, but it does serve a functional role. It's just not as dynamically expressed as the phospho-ERK or interferon gamma. And you can see the CD8 alpha high population are enriched with perforin expression. Those are going to be my memory cells that are actually ready to go and kill virally infected cells. So I'll make my ERK positive gate there. And then I've got a gating tree, but it's only applied to one sample. And you see that these left and right arrows are grayed out, so I can't scroll through samples yet. To apply the gating tree to the entire group of samples, I can highlight the entire tree by pressing down Shift. And then I can drag and drop this, and it'll apply. Now, alternatively, I can actually highlight the group that I want to apply these gates to, highlight the samples, and then, actually, maybe I can undo that move. So I'm going to highlight the gates, make sure that my group is selected, and then I'm going to go to Workspace and hit this button called Copy Analysis to Group, and it'll apply it to the group that I know. And what I want to point out is that this is a feature in 10 that I really like, because my next step might be to add some statistics to these analyses, because I want to look at like the full change in phospho-ERK median fluorescence intensity instead of the frequency. Oftentimes, if you do phosphoepitopes. So I'm going to add a statistic here. I can either do to drop down a median of any parameter, CV of any parameter, frequency of any subset, or I can add the statistic over here in this window. And in this case, I've highlighted my CD8 positive T cells, and I'm going to look at a geometric mean, because it's not a normally distributed population, in the ERK Alexa 488 gene. And I press Add, that gives me a nice geometric mean. I can then drag that to other populations. Maybe I want to look at my CD4 positive T cells as well. Maybe I want to also add a statistic, and I'll show you the purpose of this later, is the frequency of parent just of the interferon gamma population. It's actually the same statistic, but when I go to the visualization tool, I will actually have to use a statistic, not a population node. Now I have 3 different grayed out statistics that have not been applied to my gating tree, and normally I would have to drag and drop each one of these onto the appropriate node, but I can now do command, highlight all 3 grayed out nodes, hit copy analysis to group, and now it's applied all of those statistics to the group. I found that to be a nice shortcut rather than dragging and dropping all the time. So I got some statistics there. I mentioned keywords here. Right now I've got the statistic, which is by default the frequency of parent, or whatever I put in there, the geometric mean of phospho-ERK. That's all these. But maybe I want to add some more keywords to organize these data. So I can add a keyword to FlowJo, new keyword, right here. Give it name anything I want, maybe my keyword. And when I press OK, I have a new list that I can then type in my keyword information, and I can sort by that keyword information. I can also use those keywords to make a group inclusion criteria in my groups. But I've actually set this up in Diva prior to acquiring my data, so I have a number of keywords here. If I go to the Configure tab, Edit Columns, I can now scroll through all the available keywords in the file. All the dollar signs are required information for the FCS 3.0 format. And then I have added a number of little asterisks and my own keywords here, which I've grouped together by putting a star in front of them. And so I'm going to add two things, patient ID, as well as the STIM condition. I also have things like the draw date, the HIV status, the sample ID, which might be distinct from the patient ID because it includes the date and time of draw, the thaw date of my samples. All of this information is necessary for me to get back to the spreadsheet with my viral loads and CD4 counts and other clinical data that I want to correlate to the functional responses of the cells. And so the more information you can put to annotate your files on the front end, the easier it's going to be for you to manipulate and organize your data on the back end when you do your analysis. That's my pitch for using good keywords. If I press OK, now I have new information here. I have an LD, which is my patient ID, 1, 2, 4, 12, 14, and then I have the STIM conditions, which are either did I get a 2-hour STIM or a 20-minute STIM or both. And I can now organize these here by LD. I can double click and organize by STIM, up or down. I can organize in layers. But for right now, I'm just going to point out that you have the ability to organize with these keywords and that they come in useful at the end of your analysis. So if I go back here, let's see, do I have any questions with you guys about gating tools or the graph program or the actual workspace, the sample